see your partner's not got here yet. All right, so we go full screen. Good morning. Hope you can all see us this morning. There's Joe and Angelique. Joe, we did record these, as you know, so you emailed me on the way. I was driving and couldn't respond back. So yeah, we will, we'll make a recording of your presentation later today.
Cool, thank you. Shawn, you look sharp.
Thank you. Well, I'm tired. That drive felt like an eternity this morning.
Yeah, I know, it's taking to get here.
3 hours and 20 minutes.
Where were you?
Marion, South Carolina. Started was like usually 2:20, 2:30. About 45 minutes or so.
All right, make sure you flip the work. There you go. All right, again, if it stalls, kick me and wake me up. All right. Okay. Let's see.
Is it 10 o'clock yet?
It's vastly approaching.
Yeah.
I've got about 2 minutes still. All right, let me run out here right quick. Let me find my keys. I'll be right back.
I said, she's already. Does the partner have to be on? Their assistant. So I got the
Yeah.
email through this.
Well, sometimes people wait, closer time and then they have any problems getting on, and then they're late, so.
Oh, they may not know.
I think your fan club's getting on.
Yeah. Sweetness is quick to use. I said, I've been this big every day for 3 years.
I know. When we look back on it, doesn't it seem like it went by fast? I mean, at the time, it was never ending, but,
Exactly.
but after it's over, you go, well, that wasn't, and you do, forget. It's kind of like childbirth. Forget how bad it was.
Yeah, it's all done now.
Yeah.
You know,
All in the past.
it's just the trauma left. You still waiting on your partner? Yeah.
Yes.
Since you gave us the confirmation with your assistant results.
Okay. I had just that one. I had to call my wife and wish her a happy anniversary.
Better do that.
Today's your anniversary. Come in here.
38. I thought I know better when I got married.
My wife was there.
Better not say that. My favorite stories. I was gonna work with Doc in the morning, Doc Diller, he's in the other group. And so, preparing him for an interview. And he's got the job, I think, is to liaise between SQL developers, Microsoft SQL that build cubes for reports out of databases.
Yeah.
And he would be customer support as a liaise between them Made me think of my SQL developer story. Those were weird days.
I was in computer science, so.
You know, we talked about. Weird dudes. So we were doing the data dashboard in CMS, hired a mariner. But what they didn't know when they hired them was they just build architecture. You have to have developers that build reports. So when you push a button, a report comes up, that's pulled from different databases. That was my last big project in CMS, and I was getting ready to retire. They work at night because they're just odd. I didn't have anybody that could get along with it. So I had to do it myself. I had to be deputy all day and go work with them all night. So one night I said, "Now boys, before I'm going to retire, I said, I'm not going to be here tonight. My 25th wedding anniversary. I'm going to go retire and just, shortly thereafter. I said, I'm going to go be with them. This is my final hurrah here at CMS. I've got to get this done now. I'm retiring. And anyway, fellow said,
Having help, you see.
and so there was a young fellow there, SQL developer, and he said, well, I've been married for 17 years. And I said, isn't that a recent ready photo right there? He said, yeah. I said, I've been married to 5 different women for 17 years total. You don't get to count it that way. That's the way it works.
My friend said theirs coming up on July 4th, and I was there. He told her, he was like, hey, this is our 10th. He goes, you make it one more, you win, because he was married once before for 10 years. And so you're tied right now with her. So you make it one more, you win. You get the title.
That's not the way it works. You have to start all over.
They're having some difficulties.
There's Dr. Wells.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Dr. Wells. Can you hear us?
I can, and I presume you can hear me.
You can. Thank you for being with us today. We're going to go ahead and get started. Ready for our time. So welcome this morning. This is the final doctoral defense for Shawn Perry. Shawn is a doctoral candidate in organizational leadership here at Gardner-Webb University. With me today is Dr. Betsy Jones, who is DEOL faculty. I'm Dale Lamb, and we're so pleased that Dr. Roxy Wells, who was previously with Cape Fear Valley Hope Hospital, where Shawn did his consultancy and did his dissertation in practice, is with us here today. So thank you. And I see other guests on the screen. I'm going to turn it over to Shawn, and we're going to get started this morning.
Thank you. Good morning. So this dissertation in practice is focused on increasing access to healthcare for Black, Indigenous, people of color, or also known as BIPOC, and impoverished populations in a rural county of North Carolina. I am the project manager, Shawn Perry, originally from Huntington, West Virginia. Got my bachelor's degree from WVU while attending WVU Tech. Got a master's degree in education at Marshall University. Got a master's certification in educational leadership from Gardner-Webb, and in the doctoral program here in organizational leadership. I served as the assistant principal at a high school in the area of the rural county, and was also the transportation administrator, and currently serve as an elementary principal. The partner organization is a rural health hospital that is a part of a larger health system in North Carolina. It is actually one of 8 hospitals that serves 7 counties in North Carolina. They employ over 7,000 people and serve over 1 million patients annually. The community is a farming community that brings in a lot of migrant workers. It's 392 square miles of area, and there's a lot of transient being with proximity to the military bases. The community is made up of multiple nationalities and races, and we're focused on the people of color in this presentation and in this project. 49.75% of the population is in a minority group, not including most of those being in poverty, as well as some of the Caucasian population. The rural hospital was a not-for-profit hospital, and the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act of 2010 requires all not-for-profit hospitals to conduct a community health needs assessment to accurately measure what the needs are and to come up with formulate a plan to address those needs of their community. For the community health needs assessment, there are issues if they're not compliant, which this rural hospital has always been compliant through my research. But the fines are $50,000 annually for every year that the hospital is not in compliance, as well as possible leverage of pulling licensure. So one of the primary community health needs, the key one, the number one was access. That was identified in the community health needs assessment. Access to health care as number one. Number two was maternal health care, which is for new and expecting mothers. And the third one was transportation. Also notably found out through the community health needs that health and wellness programs for the public were also identified as an issue. During the professional literature review, I reviewed and looked at barriers to access to find what the research says about why people struggle to have access to healthcare. The top three are linked together with poverty, education, and insurance, as one is interconnected to the other. So lack of education tends to lead to poverty, which also tends to lead to lack of gainful employment or lack of insurance. Given the rural area and the vast farmlands there is a lack of transportation, given that the local area transit is not effective enough or large enough to serve the growing community. Being with communication being one that is an impactful, especially for those that are not native speaking. For example, we had a lot of Hispanics that were Spanish speaking. So there was a language barrier that would, again, prevent them from having access and be able to communicate their needs in that environment. Also, those people, we have a large population of undocumented. And so with the EMTALA Act, that's the Emergency Treatment and Labor Act that was passed years ago, that says that a hospital must serve those people that come in without documentation or without insurance only in emergency situations. So they have to stabilize them or they have to transport them to a hospital that can stabilize them. But that's the basic care they get. They don't get any other support by law. They're not required to be serviced. So there's a gap there as far as them accessing healthcare in general. And then you look at the social aspect and the discrimination aspect based on whether it be, race or funding or whatever. So looking at the theoretical framework, we first look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. As I reviewed each aspect of the hospital and where the programs and services and what needs they met and the performance, it's very clear that the hospital can impact every phase and every level of the hierarchy. Starting out with the physiological needs and looking at reproduction. Obviously, the healthcare facilities deal with life planning and everything that goes in with childbirth, things like that. And then primarily we looked at safety needs, looking at the health of the community. They also have an impact on the sense of connection and the family as they deal with the family environments. Esteem, you talk about freedom and the status, and then so they promote that as well. And lastly, I'm a prime example of a way that a leader in the hospital could promote self-actualization as I desire to become the best one that I can be. Then we look at Argus' double loop theory. Essentially, do we continue to do things the way they've always been done just because that's the way that's what was done? And so if we look at the underlying assumptions that lead into the goals, values, and techniques of what's done, the action strategy, the actual work that we put in, does the hospital services get the results that we want? If the community health needs says it's not getting the needs, then we have to get out of the loop and go back and review our underlying assumptions and kind of just find out why and come up with a new plan that actually impacts the community health needs. So exemplary leadership. There's 5 ways that exemplary leaders operate. 1 is to model the way. 2 is to inspire a shared vision. 3 is to challenge the process. 4 is to enable others to act, which is through delegation and support, and then encouraging the heart. I bring this up because without exemplary leadership in a project, it will not be completed successful. And so I have had the blessing and the pleasure to work with 2 exemplary leaders throughout this process that guided me through challenging the process, inspiring others, and encouraging the heart. And so serving others with a purpose, and that is also servant leadership. If I have seen further than others, it is by standing upon the shoulders of giants. This has become my favorite quote because I realized how much expertise that others bring to the table that have allowed me to step up my game and move up further in my leadership. And that is by Sir Isaac Newton. So we're looking at our methodology. We're utilizing a mixed methodology approach where we use quantitative data and qualitative data to assess the situation and guide us into a set of recommendations that will be impactful. But we first have to identify what is going on with the programs and services at the hospital and where can we improve. And so the qualitative data is any documentation or perspectives that can be collected and analyzed. So our community health needs assessment survey data is our qualitative data, along with the open response that was given in a double-blind survey through the organization of internal members within the rural hospital. So here we look at the statements of agreement as far as quantitative data, and this is just a good highlight of the hospital leadership and what was the view of the internal members and how they see their organization operating. 94.4% show that the hospital offers good comprehensive health care, which is tremendous. Secondly, it also shows that the accessibility, they believe that accessibility for the BIPOC population is good, okay, or easily acceptable. And then third on that list is that the healthcare that they provide is affordable. With this feedback on the BIPOC, it brings to light a little bit that a lot of the issues are not necessarily identified by the internal members as being a racial or ethnicity issue, but more so a financial one. So therefore, that was one of the key reasons why the impoverished populations were included, because they face those similar barriers. So if we look at statements of disagreement from internally rated, a little over half of the people felt that accessibility for disabled or elderly residents was an issue, and then also that the hospital provides adequate health transportation for the health care to all residents. The issue with that is hospitals don't typically offer transportation as a main source. It's not something they're going to undertake and run on their own due to the financial and all the other aspects to that. Also, affordable healthcare is readily available for economically disadvantaged residents. That's a little less than half believe that. And then again, with the new and expecting mothers, we've already identified that as a need. And so that kind of aligned with that as well. These were not, even though the percentages were less than 50%, there was a neutrality where there was a split. So that's why that ended up that way. Statements of agreement for potential programs, services, or improvements. So this is getting some feedback on what implementations what recommendations could I provide that would improve access to healthcare and even some of those secondary issues that we identified. And so 94.74% looked at more affordable healthcare options. So we got to come up with some kind of plan to lower the cost of healthcare. And then we look at the mobile healthcare units, and that, again, a key aspect of that mobile health unit is that we provide free or reduced basic healthcare services. So that'll lead into our primary recommendation as well. And then we look at 89.47% of the residents would benefit from having more healthcare providers in the area. So they're not as far of a driver commute to get to for access. And then again, free or low cost transportation to get them to those facilities. So our secondary recommendations mainly come from the qualitative data collected from the internal members, as it is a key part for the organization to support their internal members to continue to grow and to create a good working environment. One opportunity was to raise wages. Now that doesn't directly impact any of the community health needs, but again, it supports the people that do the work. Extended hours for your emergent, non-emergent facilities, that was requested, advertising in the southeastern part of the county, where there is some competition across the county lines, but neither health system advertises or has a presence there. So that was requested. Obviously, public health education and an outreach program to just educate the community about health and making them aware, to give them a positive opportunity to change their own health. And then wheelchairs were actually requested for specific services after 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So the primary recommendation for this project is partnership. The organization cannot run itself and address access to health care on its own. This is a high impact recommendation to where the hospital would partner with major universities, legislature, lobbyists, anybody that can positively promote and push rural healthcare. So along with that, the other high recommendation, which is would carry off of the partnerships, would be to implement a mobile health unit. When we looked at the data asking and the qualitative data responses of asking about implementing more locations and facilities, offering transportation, this is the one recommendation that would address multiple facets of that, but it's impossible to directly do and to operate and to take that expense on without having those key partners supporting the work. We were talking about possible solutions of implementing university students that are trained to be nurses, doctors, and allowing them to get real world experience, but also not requiring insurance or identification to get a basic healthcare need. So these are my references. Thank you all for coming in and joining us, and thank you for your support throughout this program. Shawn Perry for Gardner Webb. Let's keep running.
All right, thank you, Shawn. All right, we will we'll go to questions now. We'll start with Dr. Wells. Dr. Wells, do you have any questions for Shawn about his presentation this morning?
You know, I don't really have any questions. He and I have worked together throughout this process. It's been quite some time, but I would like to make a couple of observations. First of all, he has been stellar in his interactions with me and the team at our hospital. The findings that he's looked at, I think are spot on with the concerns or the thoughts of the individuals that were there. The fact that he, addressed things like raising wages or what have you, the system did work towards that to make sure that everybody had a livable wage. Partnerships with others, continuing partnerships with the health department, and really anything that the county did to put on, we wanted to make sure that we educated patients regarding the things that stood out on their community needs assessment, heart disease, stroke, those things that tend to be the very top of the community needs assessment we've looked at and acted upon. And then I really like the high impact recommendations. And so I think that he did an excellent job in this process. He really brought to view things, where there were opportunities for the health system for this particular community that he looked at. It has been an honor to serve on his committee and to work with him through this process. He is very passionate about this subject, was very passionate from the very beginning. And even if our calls got short, he'd find his way back. I think that's maybe a testament to the gentleman and the woman in the Florida shirt. And I can't see what her shirt says, but I just want to say he's done an excellent job. I think he's been an excellent doctoral candidate. I believe that our region, state, and country will be served well with him earning this degree. And it has been an absolute pleasure working with him. And I hope that he continues the work that he's doing. And just kudos and congratulations. I presume those are your parents. kudos and congratulations to the two of you for raising an outstanding gentleman who is going to change healthcare and many other things, education in our region. Thank you again for this opportunity and congratulations to you, sir, on a job well done.
Thank you, Dr. Wells. Thank you so much for those kind words. We'll move to the next part. Dr. Jones, my colleague here, will now go to her for questions.
Just have a couple about your, primarily about your data collection and analysis. If you can talk just a little bit about how many people you surveyed. You said they were internal.
Yeah, internal to the organization.
Yeah.
So we created a survey in Qualtrics that was Force Likert for the quantitative, and that was dispersed by the hospital. So it was a double blind. So I have no idea who that was distributed to. We had like 26 response on those that allowed us to get a good feedback of the organization and the people that she felt were closer to the work and that their opinions would drive the research. So that was the quantitative, and then there were some open-ended responses on that survey as well that tied into the qualitative, which is where some of our secondary recommendations came from.
You felt like you got some really good
Really
feedback.
good feedback. Yes. Really good feedback.
Good. Yeah, that's pretty much all I had. I just, did you feel like your lit review, I guess, and your data collection and analysis meshed? Did you think,
It did.
feel like what you found out from the literature?
It did, because, and I say that because a lot of the personal experiences that I brought in coming into this project, I was the assistant principal and the transportation director. So when I have a student in the high school level that would miss a bus, or if the bus didn't run, we had, some hiccups from the district level. Those kids didn't have rides. And so that was the initial thought that as I started planning and looking at things, and then when I got the data and seen transportation was on there, it made sense. How, if my kids can't get to a required education, how our parents get to what we would consider required, but an optional healthcare service. So a lot of that stuff ties into the relationships that I built with community leaders in the educational realm as well. I had conversations with the transit directors, our transportation directors in the district. Looked at a lot of different things. That's when I was looking at the recommendations to kind of figure out what would make the biggest impact. And that's kind of what I arrived at.
Thank you.
Okay. Which course impacted you the most and why?
738, the statistical analysis, and I've always considered myself a math person. I was always good with numbers. Been that way since I was a kid, but it's a whole new ballgame when you start getting into statistical analysis and what everything means and how you interpret data. And I think even in education, all those skills that I gained in that aspect will allow me to be a better leader and understand, maybe not necessarily be a number cruncher, but I could see data and discern whether it's viable or not, and kind of make an informed decision. The innovative class was a good one because it allowed me to put my spin and my mark on work that traditionally is more scholarly. We're just writing and we're in the work, but that gave me an opportunity to kind of go outside and use some technology and some video editing and some things to put my spin on what I think innovation looks like in different realms.
You mentioned in your job, you think you'll be better at figuring out what data is valid and what isn't. When we talk about your job, how do you think that earning this degree is going to, and what you've gone through is going to impact the people that you lead and supervise?
Well, getting into that part, the leadership, all the leadership aspects that we've looked at, from just even the 5 things that I put in this presentation, that we're looking at the servant leadership part. I mean, that's a big part of being Christ-like and being at Gardner-Webb, which is religious university. We've learned so many things, not just about what the books say, but we learned a lot of things about ourselves, and we've been able to apply these what we consider recommendations and see the production immediately. We see these scenarios playing out in our day-to-day lives, and realizing that we can lead with purpose based on what we've read. And again, standing on the shoulder of giants, people that have been there, done it, and put in have collected the dumb tax on it and have already went through the process and give us information, much like our parents did. Our parents went through a lot of challenges, so they allow us to as children growing up, that we don't make the same mistakes that they made, so that we can be better off. And without God, I wouldn't be sitting here today, and without my parents and my support, wouldn't be here.
That kind of answered the final question on that one. Gargle Web, of course, our motto here is Pro Deo et Humanitatis, service for God and humanity. I think you answered that question well. So I am going to turn our sound and video off. Dr. Jones and I are going to confer, and we're going to have Shawn step over to my office and have a seat, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Mr. Miss Perry? Can you hear me?
Yes.
I was going to tell you, you all have a fabulous son.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, you should be very, very proud. He's been a joy to work with.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
We're just learning to use this Zoom thing.
And Mr. and Mrs. Perry, he's been a wonderful cohort and friend, prayer partner. Yeah, you should be extremely proud. We love him dearly.
Oh,
I'm so proud of him. He's done a good job.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And if you've heard of it, I'm the one they call Pasta Joe. So, yeah, that's me.
okay. Yes.
Mhm.
I'm the crazy lady. So, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, he's wonderful. Thank you.
oh, thank you, honey.
All right, we're back. We're gonna bring Shawn in. Shawn, you ready to come back in? Come on. Sit in the big chair.
Sit in the big chair.
I'd like to congratulate and welcome back Dr. Shawn Perry. Yay! All right,
Congratulations.
Thank you.
all right. To comments, we'll start with my colleague, Dr. Jones.
Yeah, good presentation. Didn't even have a note, which is the first thing I wrote down.
Yeah.
Raj, he doesn't even have any notes.
In my life for 3 years. If I don't know it by now. But I will say I was very slick with my editing. So I'm very innovative. So the hospital had some numbers in it. Normal person wouldn't see it. But it's just, it
Yeah.
triggered my mind on the data because the data can get, all the data we looked at as far as statistical and then the numbers from both the surveys can get a lot. So I had to disseminate some of that into the text.
Yeah, but you did a very good job, good partnership. Really impressed with the partnership and the things that Dr. Wells said
Oh, yeah.
about you.
I wrote all this down. I'll sell it to you for a small fee. All these nice things you said. Dr. Wells, thank you so much. Again, we have Gardner Webb and me and Shawn, the department here at College of Ed. We thank you so much for partners with. Shawn has grown and done so well under your guidance and direction. We take no credit. We believe that you have really made an impact in his life, and we thank you so much for that.
Well, thank you. It has absolutely been my pleasure. I think the feeling is mutual. I've grown quite a bit in working with him, and I'm just excited about the work that he's going to do as Dr. Perry in the now and moving forward. Just thank you again for that opportunity, Shawn. So proud of you. Congratulations. And I know, I believe one person can put things in place that will change the world. And you're one of those individuals. So congratulations to you. Congratulations to your family. I see Stacy Perry. I presume that's
Wife.
Yeah. So congratulations to you all. Just proud to be a part of this moment.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I know you're a busy person, so we'll turn you loose now. And again, thank you for joining us today. It means so much. I'm over here. They set the camera up so that they wouldn't see me, which was smart. All right, so we'll go to we'll do Angelique if Angelique wants to have something to say, and then if she'll unmute herself. There she is.
Awesome, Dr. Perry. You did wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Angelique. Joe?
You're muted.
That one deserves a couple one. That was excellent.
Excellent.
The Bound Tambourine. All right.
Yeah,
We'll
thank you very much. I'm so proud of you, Dr. Shawn.
Thank you.
We'll go to parents. If y'all would like to have a word for Shawn, for posterity.
Congratulations, Shawn. We're so proud of you.
Yeah, we're so proud of you, son.
Love you.
Love you very much.
And last but not least, the person who's had to carry the load, you pretty heavy. You're not ready. I know you've had to carry him, but it's time for him to get out and walk for himself now. Put him to work. I hope you've got a long list of things for him to do when he gets home.
I definitely do. But I just want to say I'm so proud of you. You worked hard. I saw it.
That's great. Well, thank you. All right, that will end our video presentation for the day. Thank you all for being with us today. We'll see you again soon. Let me end this for all.